Welcome to Deep Thought. Why many models may not be sexually attractive. Now, I know y'all say, man, this should be on your main channel, Ron. Nah, because on this channel, we go deep into it. It's called Deep Thought for a reason. And I was thinking about that, right? And it was actually inspired because I'll check out, I'll check out random videos, or at least parts of random videos, now even outside of this sector. Now, I remember seeing a video from this young man who he was, I keep forgetting to save his stuff, but he was showing pictures of different models to women and having the women rate the models, right? He was showing pictures to these women, and for the most part, they were rating the men low. They were like, and of course, guys in the comments were thinking, oh, nah, they capping or this or that, right? And I thought about that because I had been in the modeling industry for a second. And of course, I've known some models. But I'm gonna tell you the truth, most models are not really meant to appeal to the opposite sex. And now there are some exceptions. And of course, there's some models who, just because of their body build and everything else, going to appeal to the opposite sex. Supermodel, somebody like a Tyson Beckford or something, or especially a lot of models who end up getting into acting, which I think is honestly because they can be sexually attractive. But if you look at a lot of models, they don't really give that off. They don't give that off. Now, these women were judging these men as less. When I look at most models, most of them don't do anything for my joint. Like female models, like they'll have those Victoria's Secret models or something. I'm like, well, Tyra Banks back in the day, but she a thick motherfucker. And actually, it ain't because she was so pretty, but she was a thick motherfucker. So I was like, man, she had a body on her. Shoot, that was the thing. But a lot of them, and I've actually known some models personally, I didn't think anything of them when they weren't fixed up on anything. But it made me think, why? Now, some people will say, well, maybe because they meant to appeal to gay men. Because, a lot of model scouts and people picking them are gay men. Right? And I was just like, but that's not really it. And here's why they're not sexually attractive. Unless they specifically in some field or they modeling something that is directly related to sex appeal, they don't necessarily have to be. Now, if they don't like swimsuits and stuff, but even then, not so much. Even then, because they're modeling the clothes mainly, the clothes. Now, some exceptions, of course, is when somebody is doing something using some models and they specifically are selling to the opposite sex. Like I'm aware of a photographer on IG. And he actually will photograph muscular men and sell it to women. He would like have them in different poses, naked artistic poses, and sell them to women. And then you got some other like photographers. They'll get some sexy models, put them in books, definitely magazines, and sell it to men. Okay, that's specific, but they may not be sexually attractive for one thing. I want y'all to really think about it. They're selling clothes, especially runway models. They're not selling sex appeal to the opposite sex. What they are is selling clothing, styles and stuff to the same sex. And the thing is with the models, particularly runway models especially. Now, like I said, they might be sexually appealing to the opposite sex just on their own. But their main thing is to have a certain look. Honestly, not because of their look, but because of their body frame. Especially runway models, especially. Or they could be like, now they got plus size models and everything. It's not because of their sex appeal, but what they look like, what they represent. See, understand, let me throw some money matters in there. If you selling clothes, they sell better if whoever's modeling the clothes represents you can identify with. Like if I'm I'm a dude, I'm lifting, people say swole, brolic, whatever, stocky, whatever. Some people don't see the full body, be like, oh, he's all big and everything. Okay. The clothes I'm gonna pay attention to, clothing styles, is somebody similar in size. Similar in size. And then also they promote an ideal. They promote an ideal. So basically when men, regardless of their orientation, will see a man wearing certain styles of clothes and stuff, that's to sell it to them. That's to look good in the clothes. In fact, a friend of mine, a lady friend, who, let's just say she did some modeling, she said most models are just walking mannequins or stuff. In fact, working in retail, having to even dress some mannequins, they supposed to represent something. Like now you got some mannequins now that are a little bit thicker, particularly on the woman's side. They haven't really adopted that on the men's side. But why they have it on that thicker mannequin? They trying to appeal. See, the main thing models are supposed to do is you want to identify with them. Now somebody would say, well, those models are tall and handsome. These guys won't identify with them. Hold up. Psychologically, they do it because people want that. Like I remember this documentary about Abercrombie and Fitch. Abercrombie and Fitch. Now they got in trouble because they were just showing like a certain type of white type of model. But people were identifying with, and in fact, a lot of those stores do that. They'll have the people working in there and they look a certain way. But that's not to appeal to the opposite sex. That's to appeal to the same sex because they are idealized. You know, so they not meant, so you know, you got some nice looking women in there. Unless they working in the men's section, they want the women to walk in, see this beautiful woman, like not sexually attractive, but beauty, like I always say, they're not the same thing. And they will like identify. It's like, oh, like if they slim or something, it's like, oh, okay, I want to be slim. And psychologically, it goes deep down. It's like, oh, maybe if I wear that type of clothes, I'll look good in it. It's a lot of little propaganda. See, it's supposed to hit you on a deep level. You're supposed to identify with it, whether it's the man or the woman. And it's like, oh, if I wear this, you know. It's like one thing I noticed when I was young, I remember there was these shoes, PF Flyers. And supposedly if you wore these shoes, you would be fast. Boom. In fact, that's how sometimes they advertise like basketball shoes. They'll show the players playing that got those shoes on playing the basketball or anything. Subliminally, they want you to think, oh, if I get those type of shoes, I can make that move too. So there's a lot of subliminal stuff with it, but it's not necessarily sexual unless it's explicitly like they are advertising to the opposite sex. And even then, that's not even about clothes. But if you're talking about clothing and everything, it's to appeal and to sell to the same sex. I want y'all to think about that. See, what they're doing is they're basically mannequins. They want to sell the clothes. So, you know, of course, the men, getting back to what I was saying about the men were thinking, oh, wow, they so handsome and everything. That's because the men were identifying with them. Deep down wanted to be them. So what that does psychologically, men will buy those clothes so they can be like them. Or Victoria's Secrets. I want y'all to think about that. They not average, they don't have to be sexy to men. They'll call them beautiful and stuff, but women need to see them as sexy. You know? Because when I say sexually attractive, I mean, I'm talking about heterosexual relationships. Because that's what I know. So when women will see that Victoria's Secret model, and interestingly enough, they starting to have, shall we say, more plus size models There's a local Victoria's Secrets, and they got like a big poster, and the women are more plus size. But they want the women to identify with that because they are selling a product. I want y'all to think about that. Y'all be like, well, that's an interesting thing to talk about, but I'm gonna tell you something I pay attention to. I pay attention to subliminal stuff. You know, I pay attention to it. You know, in fact, you know, it's not meant to, like, they, like even outside of modeling, they might have a poster of some dude in a certain amount of shape and looking a certain way, driving a certain car. That's not meant to appeal to the women. That's meant to appeal to the man, because usually they might have a woman in the commercial or in the poster. That's meant to appeal to the man. Subliminally, they telling the man, they trying to tell the man or plant it in his subconscious, hey, if I get this car, or I get these clothes, I get these shoes, I can get this woman. What y'all think about that? See, they want to see, that's the thing. That's why they might not necessarily be sexually attractive. You know, outside of something where they explicitly appealing to the opposite sex. But, you know, you meant to identify with the guy. I want y'all to think about that. They ain't saying like you into guys or anything, but they want you to identify with the guy. For the men, with the model, the clothes and everything. And for the women, they want the women to identify. Like I said, Victoria's Secret. You know, they want the women to identify looking a certain way with wearing a certain type of panties or a certain type of bra. So women are going in there. And you notice they haven't really complained about business. They ain't ubiquitous in any mall, but they want the women to think. And now they're getting smarter, like with the plus size women, they say, oh, okay, we want women to identify with this attractive plus size women. It ain't necessarily about turning on the men. They're not selling stuff for men. I want y'all to think of, just think about it, okay? And that's just one example. If you start looking at any advertising, think about any advertising, think who they trying to sell to. Always think about it. And indeed, with models, that's why you will have some models that look regular. Like if you got like some advertisement or commercial with some regular looking dude using some lawn equipment or something. That's because they realize, hey, that's who's going to be using it. So we need people to identify with it. You know? I want y'all to think about that, all right? So anyway, that's all I have for right now. Think it seriously. Just get into that deepness. It goes beyond that. Remember, think about, like, here's a homework assignment. Look at any advertisements, anytime you come across it, think about it critically. Who they trying to reach? Who they trying to reach? Like, look at the model, look what they advertising. Like I said, like someone selling like clothes for big men. Who they gonna use the model? Big men. You know? Because I've seen a couple websites that actually sell to big men. Bigger men. And who they gonna use? They ain't gonna use some like slim dude or some dude looking like a fitness model. They're gonna use a big man. You know? So because they want men to buy the clothes. I want y'all to think about that, all right? So anyway, that's all I have. And yeah, I know, I was talking about models, but get into the deepness. Use your third eye. Get into the deepness of it, the subliminal stuff, all right? So anyway, yeah. I don't need anything in the mornings. So if y'all hear a little rumble, that's it. But anyway, I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.